Hi everyone, it's Ben from BH Drum Academy here, and today we're talking about drum maintenance. You have this great investment of drums and you maybe purchased this drum kit whether brand new or used, and drums are only going to sound as good as they feel and as they look. They're all interconnected. It's kind of like having a new car. You're having a new car, you bought it brand new from the dealership, you want to take care of it. You want to feel good driving it. Same idea with drums. You'd want to have them feel good and sound good as you play them, and you also want to look good. You want to get those compliments about your drums. So today we're going to talk about drum maintenance tips that will help you keep your drums sounding good, looking good, and feeling good. And some other important tips that help you have your drums last as long as they can in their lifetime. How your drums sound, feel, and look is all going to make your drums be very enjoyable for you. They're all interconnected that way. So really take good care of your drums. So the first thing I want to talk about is the actual drum shells themselves, which is on my drums, the red parts here. And of course mine are sparkle in them, so they're meant to be shiny, especially when they're attached to lights like on video lights here, and any kind of stage that they have. So I really love how much they shine, and I want them to shine a lot. Now you can get special drum polishes that you can purchase from your local music store, and they are just meant to be buffed on, buffed off. But you can also use just like a dusting towel or like a Swiffer or something, some kind of dust cloth to make sure the dust is off of the drums to make sure they're shiny. Cymbals themselves will also collect a lot of dust. They will just kind of sit there, especially if they're not covered or they're not being played for long periods of time. So dusting them it makes a big difference. But you can also use even soap and water is totally okay. But make sure if you use soap and water that you dry it after you apply it. Don't let it just soak your drums and let it sit there. We don't want water to sit on it. They can go on it for a little bit, but make sure you dry it right after. Next are cymbals. And cymbals, especially if you like the shiny kind, if you like them to be clean, if you like them to be shiny, there is certain cymbal polishes and cymbal cleaners that is acidic. So you spray them on and they're only meant to stay on for about 30 seconds. It breaks down all the little fine dirt that gets into the grooves of the cymbals, and then you brush it off and you wipe it off and make it dry. And that's what I use. I find that works the best. Also, I've seen some people use just good old-fashioned soap and water, and that's totally fine. But same rules applies as what I mentioned for the drum shells, is if you put something wet on the materials of the drums, you want to make sure that it is dry right after. Don't just soak it and leave it to air dry. We don't want that to happen, as these are metal and metal can oxidize and change color, and we don't want that. Also, some people I've noticed choose not to clean their cymbals, as they really accredit the sound of the cymbals to how dirty they are. And that's totally like a personal preference kind of thing. There is lots of grooves in all of these cymbals, and if dirt gets into the grooves, it can change the sound very slightly. But kind of hard to the ear, but I know lots of drummers who insist on never cleaning their cymbals. And that's the style and the look and even the sound of the cymbals that they want. They kind of want that dirty feel to it. Whatever floats your boat, whatever is enjoyable to you. So just pick whatever you'd like to do. Now, as a reference for you as well, some people also think about using some window cleaner, something like that, something shiny for cymbals and drum shells. Do not use that stuff on drum materials. It may work for the first couple times, but it will take off layers of finish on all these materials, and it will start to oxidize the material and wear it down. So do not use window cleaner on any of this kind of stuff. If you do insist on using home materials, just soap and water is okay, but make sure again you have a dry towel and dry it off right after. Next, we're going to talk about the pedals, and the pedals for the bass drum and the hi-hat. Chances are lots of times they will collect dust, and especially because you're wearing shoes. Shoes are not always the cleanest thing because you walk around in them. So fine little dust from your shoes can come off and go onto the pedals or into the pedals. And they're really easy to clean. You can just get a vacuum cleaner and just come by and just vacuum up all the dust, or even compressed air and just give a quick spray of air to try and blow the dust away and the hair away. But vacuum cleaners I find works one of the best ways to do that. And same idea, you can use soap and water if you want to clean them a bit more thoroughly. But again, you want to dry the materials so that they do not oxidize or change the finish of the materials, especially if you find the looks of the material very important to you. So other than cleaning the actual drums themselves to make them look good, we also want to check the drums for some wear and tear from lots of playing. We're checking for things like cracks or scratches or dings and dents and warps and things like that. First of all, let's check the cymbals. So the cymbals, because we usually hit them with the drumsticks, whether with the tip or even the shaft of the drumstick on their sides, or even sometimes on top, depending on where we hit them, we can usually give a little bit of extra stress to the cymbals. So one thing that we like to check is we like to check on the edges of the drum, of the cymbal, to make sure that there is no huge chunks or cracks or divots or bends or breaks from the cymbals themselves. Now, if we find a cymbal that is in fact broken or cracked or has a big chunk missing from it, it is considered not safe to play with, as it can crack the rest of the cymbal and its sound is deteriorated. However, I've seen some people continue to play with broken cymbals because it sounds really good. However, it is just asking to be broken more and more and more. So if it's broken and it needs to be replaced. As well, cymbals have these felts and these sleeves that go on to cymbals as well, with these wing nuts that hold the cymbal on. And these felts can be worn down from time to time, especially after lots of playing. They will just eventually be worn down. And the plastic sleeve that's underneath it, with metal rubbing on plastic, it will wear those down eventually too. So if it breaks or it's worn down completely, it's time to be replaced. You do have to have cymbal sleeves on these stands, though. Some people had thought, well, why do I need to have felts? Why do I need to have these cymbal sleeves or these little plastic pieces on there? And that's a very valid question. And it's a very simple answer. Metal on metal is asking for trouble. It is asking for things to crack easier and things to be worn out. So these plastic sleeves on these felts are to protect the cymbal himself. It's protecting the cymbal because cymbals are not necessarily cheap. So they're to protect the cymbal. Cymbals will vibrate and they will have a lot of vibration, and a lot of the movements and the vibrations will cause some stress, especially near the center of the cymbal, is near the bell side. So it's to protect the extra vibrations, to protect the cymbal from cracking prematurely. Now, next are drum heads. Drum heads are one of those types of costs that is a recurring cost. They need to be replaced every couple months if you are a consistent player and you're playing a lot. Some people can get away with changing them once a year if they don't play their drums too much, but if you're going to be playing them quite often, they will wear out and stretch. And because these are basically thin layers of material that are being stretched over a drum, they will stretch and overstretch and get to a point of stretching where it doesn't hold its elasticity anymore. Also with drum heads, you can see visually the wear that's from the marks of the drumstick. Now they can take a lot of wear, but after a while you'll notice that the darker the colors that might come out from the drum head after hitting it over and over again with the drumsticks, they're going to show a little bit more of their overstretchedness. As well, some drums have, especially after playing for long periods of time, they will show these small divots that are on drum heads. So if the drum head has divots or these dents in them, that's a sign that the drum head is worn out and it is time to be replaced. A drum head that has lots of dents and divot in it is a little harder to tune. It is possible to tune it, and some people, you can play the drum head with dents and dings in it, but it's a little harder to hold their tune. So I recommend to replace them when you see a couple dents and divots in your drum heads. As for the resonant heads, which is the head on the side of the drum that you do not hit, usually on the bottom, because you're not hitting those types of drum heads very often, you can get away with not replacing those as often as the batter heads, because the batter heads are the ones you hit. So they're going to wear out naturally a little bit more often. But the resonant heads, they just sit there and vibrate. But after a while, they will stretch a little bit. So you can get away with replacing the resonant heads a lot less often than the batter heads. And the last thing you want to check for wear and tear is the current condition of your drumsticks. Now, if most drumsticks that you're playing with are made of wood and you're a heavy hitter like myself, they are going to wear and tear. They're going to chip a little bit, and then little pieces of wood are going to fly all over the place, and they'll get on the floor and the pedals, and that's totally normal. But as you can imagine, the more and more wood chips that go away from the drumstick, it's going to change the weight and the feel of the drumstick. So after a while, the weight's going to change, and it's going to feel like a little bit of a different drumstick. So if the weight and feel of the drumstick is quite different, or even the tip of the drumstick is completely broken off and it's not able to be used very often, and it's not doing its job, then it's probably time for a new set of drumsticks. Also, the obvious one, if a drumstick is completely broken and a giant piece falls off of it, do not keep playing with it. I see some people and some drummers, I've played in shows before where I played and I didn't even notice my drumstick was broken. I was just in the feel of it, and then I noticed, hey, this drumstick quite a bit lighter than usual, and half of it was missing. And I was playing pretty much my drums with a knife because it was like a sharp piece of wood on the end. So as soon as it's broken, don't use it. Don't keep playing your drums with a very sharp piece of wood. You're just asking for trouble. It's kind of like playing drums with knives. You wouldn't really do that. They'll definitely break the drum heads, so just don't even bother. Just get a new pair of drumsticks ready to go. So after cleaning and after checking your wear and tear and the condition of your drum heads and your drumsticks, I can assure you that your drums are going to sound, look, and feel just as good as the drummer that you are. For more drum tips, lessons, and free resources, check out my website, bhdrumacademy.com.